From Paris to Bayeux was 2 hours with only one stop at Caen. We came by train, leaving from Saint-Lazare station. The Hotel Tardif. The motor entrance. Right in the middle of town, here's the water wheel. This is what Bayeux is famous for, so we're going to go visit.
To decorate the new cathedral at Bayeux, or Bayeux, educate the worshippers as both an epic poem and a moral tale. The tapestry's later history was turbulent, barely known before the 18th century. Carried away in the fervour of the Revolution, it was eventually restored and is exhibited throughout the year in a museum in Bayeux, its town of origin. Despite some damage and a missing final section, this uninterrupted account...
This is the main street of Bayeux. This is what a French city ought to look like. In addition to the tapestry, Bayeux is famous for its cathedral.
Under the command of General Eisenhower, Allied naval forces, supported by strong air forces, began landing Allied armies this morning on the northern coast of France.
British.
Now there are 5 invasion beaches. If you watch the American films, you'd think there was only 2. And let me run through the beaches. Firstly, 7 miles off in that direction at the eastern base of the Cotentin Peninsula is the first of the American beaches, Utah. Then, not too far from Bayeux, is the second of the American beaches, Omaha, and of course we're going to do both of those today. Then we've got the British on Gold, the Canadians on Juno, and the British on Sword.
The Waco gliders. One of 512 that landed on D-Day. They could carry a jeep or a cannon. There's a full-size real C-47 carried paratroopers.
La presqu'île du Cotentin s'apprête à déferler 14 238 parachutistes des 82e et 101e divisions, qui s'entourent de gros porteurs C-47, chacun équipé de 40 à 50 kg de matériel. Ils seront bientôt suivis par 2969 hommes embarqués sur les planeurs. Ces planeurs, fragiles esquifs de toile et de bois, beaucoup d'hommes allaient périr lors d'atterrissages chaotiques. Un important trafic se poursuit donc directement sur les plages.
About 1300 years ago. When they got here, this countryside wasn't fielded as you see today. It was rolling plains with intermittent forests and woods placed amongst it. Now, when they'd finished the Scandinavians off, they thought, how can we overcome the problem? Well, firstly what we'll do is only lay out very, very small fields, generally between 50 and 400 yards squared. Then, around the base of every field, we'll build an earthen embankment, and that 153,000 men. That is 15 full infantry divisions. Now I have to take my hat off to the Americans because they tried coming up with solutions to get the tanks into the fields to support the infantry. The first Cullens of the 2nd Armoured Division is that you cut up the metal beach obstacles called Czechoslovakian hedgehogs. You'll see some of those on Utah Beach later, and you make teeth out of them. You then weld those teeth to the lowest part of a tank. That then is known as a rhinoceros tank. That tank now will keep ramming backwards and forwards into the earthen embankment, and generally after 6 to 10 rams it would lift the earthen embankment up with a hedgerow, roll into the field, infantry follow it, and we're away. Going up, Cherbourg is around the corner of the furthest bit of land that you can see. If you look behind me, you see a bit of land jutting out into the sea? Yep. That's Point de Hoc. When the tide goes out here, it goes out 400 yards of flat beach. So when you are seasick and in that landing craft carrying £100 worth of equipment, you've then got to cover 400 yards under fire. Right, for the invasion armada in total, you're looking at just under 6,000 ships and craft. And you
fortifications. The engine compartment takes up about a quarter to a third of it. There were 30 men loaded in with all of the gear and the rest of it. Flat bottom. They came in from 11 miles offshore, pounded by the waves.
Prior to the invasion, and that is a photograph of the 8th American Air Force coming in and bombing the point, and that's the end result. It was moonscape, and that for 63 years ago is what I would class as precision bombing. In terms of explosive power, and this is a picture I found this winter, but in terms of explosive power, we dropped 10 kilotons here in that 2-month period, thick, full of rebar. If you actually look at the front left-hand side of the bunker, it's received a large amount of naval shells hitting it, which are incredibly powerful. Although it's ugly, it's still intact, isn't it? You could still use that as a gun emplacement if you wanted to, but just way too strong. It's German purely had to clip in the 2 front bipod legs of his machine gun, and he could swivel. Basically, the way they worked is that in the centre of the circle, they put a big steel pin set into the concrete. On that pin, you put one of these. It's a gun carriage, and this.
The Point de Hoc Range Memorial. The Rangers had to climb up these 150-foot cliffs.
And then the Rangers land from that bunker there, which is where the point is, going down to just beyond the other bunker with the observation platform on it. For obvious reasons, when Tom Hanks lands on this beach, within 15 minutes he stood up on the bluff there with the survivors, looking down at the invasion armada starting to close in on the beach. The reality is, the first wave that landed on this beach, they weren't down here for 15 to 20 minutes. Try 6 to 8 hours under that fire. The first exit was not cleared until 1:30 in the afternoon, which is 7 hours after the first troops landed. But the fire did stop. Remember, we got how many paratroopers?
5,400 Americans.
Just over 20,000 paratroopers. You're talking
on this beach on 6 June 1944.
But you'll be doing. Okay, guys, if you just close in because these go continue.
Hyman Golan from California. And Martin Golan from California. The Golan brothers died within 3 days of each other. Hyman on July the 8th, 1944, and Martin on July the 11th. We put a stone on each dog. And remember the glory of their spirits.